this upcoming episode of Goldfield, we're going to learn about the mines.
Good morning. Today we're going to take a trip up to Goldfield, Nevada. It's about halfway between Las Vegas and Reno on Highway 95, about 200 miles north of Vegas. I already did a video once about the buildings that are up there, but today we're going to go back up there and check out the mines. Got my coffee for the road trip. Let's go do some exploration.
Mining all but died out in central Nevada in the 1890s, largely due to the demonetization of silver. Nobody had paid much attention to the Goldfield area anyway. In the late 1860s, mining centers had developed in Austin and in Belmont and later Tybo, but none much developed south of there. Individual mines prospered, such as the Liberty and General Thomas, but the only town in the vicinity was Silver Peak, some 22 miles west of the site of Goldfield. Closest to Goldfield was Montezuma, in a canyon in the mountains 7 miles west of Goldfield. Mining at Montezuma was sporadic, but I had a post office through most of the 1880s, so there were people there most of all the time from the late 1870s to the mid 1890s. No doubt some of them crossed the site of Goldfield during these years just to see what was there, but they didn't note the indications of ore, for they were silver miners prospecting for silver, and what Goldfield had to offer was gold. Jim Butler made it rich by his Tonopah discoveries. He was in good position to get richer by funding some of the prospecting trips to the south and southeast. If his boys found a mine, he got a share of it, and if they found nothing, well, the expense wasn't great, and it was worth the gamble. Two of the young prospectors financed by Jim Butler in 1902 were partners William A. Marsh and Harry Stemler. On December 4th, 1902, Stemler and Marsh located 3 claims on the north ridge of Columbia Mountain: the Sandstorm, Kruger, and May Queen. The first claim was named Sandstorm because they located it during an horrendous sandstorm. The third claim, May Queen, was named in honor of Stemler's brother's wife, May, and his own wife's first name, Queen. After Stemler and Marsh located their first 3 claims, they located 19 more. After the richest shipment of ore for its size ever shipped to a smelter in San Francisco, and the word got out of the high-grade ore, the gold rush was on. The hills were teeming with prospectors. Other town sites started to pop up. Towns such as Milltown, Jumbletown, Columbia, and Diamondfield. Thousands of investors came from the east to stake their claims or invest in the mines that were already here. One of the most noted investors that came to Goldfield was Charles Schwab. He was a wealthy steel magnate from New York. He invested heavily in mines throughout southern Nevada. Some of them were such places as Rhyolite, Gold Point, and also I believe in Belmont. By 1905 there were 6,000 people in Goldfield. Just 3 years earlier, there were only 2 men camped out in a sandstorm in a desolate area. By the end of 1905, the population had grown to 10,000 people. The boom years in Goldfield ran from 1905 through 1910, starting with the discovery of gold in the area in 1902. By 1903, a tent camp of 20 people, and by 1907, grew to be the largest city in Nevada with a population of over 20,000 people. One of the most successful mines in Goldfield was known as the Mohawk No. 2 claim, with nearly $9 million in ore values produced in the last 6 months of 1906. That equates to a little bit over $300 million today. Another outrageously successful mine was the Florence mine. The Florence mine was located by Charles Taylor on May 19 of 1903. And by early 1904 he was shipping ore. As with most of Goldfield mines, The Florence was developed using the lease system, where short-term companies would lease the mine for a specified time and work it, hoping to make a profit. This system was efficient at extracting high-grade ores, but mid to lower grade ores were often ignored, as lessees lacked the funds for sufficient sophisticated milling equipment. Consequently, some smaller operations incorporated and advertised to outside investors. One of the first companies to do this was the Florence Goldfield Mining Company, which was incorporated on May of 1905 with a capitalization of $1.2 million. That's a little over $42 million today. The president of this company was Tom Lockhart. The Florence was one of the great Goldfield mines, producing a reported $6.8 million in gold by January of 1910. This equates to over 200 million in today's dollars. A year later, George Wingfield and George Nixon organized the Goldfield Consolidated Mines Company by gaining controlling interests in consolidating the Jumbo, Mohawk, Laguna, and Red Top properties, and purchasing the combination mine with a capitalization of $50 million. That equates to about 1.7 billion today. There were still dozens of independent mines operating, but some of the richest properties were now under the management of the new Goldfield Consolidated Mines Company. Since October of 1903, the miners had a loose organization and had wages set at $4 for each 8 hours worked. The miners' union was feared and hated by the mine owners, and Goldfield's troubles over the next several years was the result of the conflict between the two. As the mines proved richer and richer throughout 1904 and 1905, the number of miners in the district kept growing, and as a consequence, the miners' union became large and powerful. The Western Federation of Miners became the main labor representative in Goldfield. They raised the daily wages to $5 a day. Organizers for the International Workers of the World soon made their appearance that made demands that interfered with the mines owners' desire to get rich as soon as possible. In the spring of 1906, Goldfield entered a 2-year period that was dominated by labor strife, resulting in the occupation of the town by federal troops. The troops occupied the town from about December of 07 to March of 08. The labor troubles were very significant in Goldfield. The IWW gained its greatest degree of power in the labor market and came closest to its ideal of the one big union. The power of the IWW was ended when Governor John Sparks asked President Teddy Roosevelt to send federal troops to maintain order and prevent an outbreak of violence. There's many other exciting things that I want to talk about and review with my audience here, and that's related to the mill sites throughout Goldfield. But first, I want to take a break and let you guys look at what's out there today and compare it to what I've shown so far. Starting with a mine that was known as the Little Florence. Go explore the original Florence mine. Standing here at the Florence Mine Complex, this is one of the original mines that were discovered here in Goldfield. Started working in 1903.
through 1910 was its big production time. Produced about $6.8 million in gold. So very, very productive at that time. We're going to go take a look in some of these buildings, and I'll try to give you a little bit of background on those as well. We're in the main hoist house of the Florence mine. This had a double hoist system. You can see even the chairs left behind where the operator used to sit. And the main power panel, still there.
I found this rather interesting. Apparently within all the hoist house, there was a code of mine signals administered by the state of Nevada and the inspectors of mines. Here is the Goldfield Daily Tribune. This was sitting on the side table of the operator's chair. It's dated March 1929, Monday evening. Kind of interesting if he would have the ability to be distracted by reading the newspaper while operating the lifts or the hoists. The main fuse blocks or breakers, and then the switchgear here. A 100 horsepower induction motor manufactured by Westinghouse was used to operate the hoists. This is the on-site power source, a transformer that was built in the early 1900s. It is no longer in service today.
Blacksmith shop with all the original tools. There's an old hand cart. Big vise.
This could very well be what it looked like inside a carpenter's shop sometime in Goldfield. As Goldfield grew, the demand for power increased as well. The creation of Nevada Power Mining and Milling Company in December 1904 satisfied the region's need for electrical power. In 1905, the company constructed the Lake Sabrina Reservoir on Bishop Creek in Inyo County, California. Water from Lake Sabrina spun turbines in an electrical generating plant, delivering power to Tonopah and Goldfield by means of a 113-mile transmission line network. There's an ingenious system that was created to generate power along Bishop Creek. There's a series of 5 power plants harnessed in tandem, utilizing consecutively the waters of Bishop Creek. The series of generating plants developed 43,520 horsepower. This electricity was generated and distributed throughout many communities in California and Nevada. This is a photo of the Nevada Power Mining and Milling Company's Goldfield substation in 1906. This is what the substation looks like today. Of course, it's been modernized. And this photo shows the alignment that follows the old alignment from 1906. I wanted to take a panoramic view of this area. It's just one of many, so that you can see all of the tailings in the different colors in such a close proximity to each other. An indication of how rich this area was with gold. So we spoke about the mines themselves and the power that was needed to drive those mines. And we looked around at a couple of the mining operations, or at least what they once used to be. Now I wanted to share with you and go over all the mills that were on the sites. During 1905, 6 custom ore reduction mills, together with 1 sampling plant, had been erected within the Goldfield mining district. Most of these early custom mills were forced to shut down during 1907, brought about by their poor locations, low recovery values, and mostly by the cessation of the most productive leasing operations and the takeover by company operation. The Combination Mines Company property, including the mill, was acquired by the Goldfield Consolidated Mines Company in March of 1907. On September 1909, a serious mining accident occurred at the Combination Mine, and a portion of the Combination Mill collapsed, caught and killed 3 men. The interior of the mill was badly damaged. The mill was then torn down and never rebuilt. The Florence Mill, the last one to be erected and the second most productive, commenced milling ore from the Florence mine on January 16, 1909. About 2 weeks following the start of the large 100-ton consolidated mill. Its lifespan ended on December 11, 1911, when the mill was destroyed by fire, a period of operation of nearly 3 years. The great 100 stamp consolidated mill started reducing ores from their several properties on December 26 of 1908. An article printed in the Goldfield News read as such: "True to promise, the great Goldfield Consolidated Mine on Sandstorm Hill, the finest quartz mill in the world, started operations this morning. With 2 or 3 miles of railroad equipment, the consolidated mill has a cost in the neighborhood of $900,000. That's almost $300 million today. The company constructed a dedicated railroad of 1.87 miles to deliver the ore from the consolidated mines to the mill. On about January 15, 1919, the mining and milling operation of the company came to an end. The life of the mill under the supervision of the Goldfield Consolidated Mines Company was from December 26, 1908 to January 15, 1919, a period of 11 years. During that time, the mill had a production of $53,970,000, or about $950 million today. The 100 stamp mill of Goldfield Consolidated Mining Company remained idle from 1920 to 1927, when the Bradshaw Incorporated obtained a lease on the tailings and used a large portion of the mill's facility to treat the tailings. This operation continued up to 1940. I couldn't find an exact date as to when the mill was actually demolished or salvaged. However, there's some fantastic foundations still remaining today. As you can imagine, all these mills required a tremendous amount of water. Water was quite scarce in and around this area. There was enough water to feed the community as it came out of Rabbit Springs, and one of the other areas that was close by for domestic use was in the Pozo Canyon. However, water for the mills came from various sources. One included for the combination mining company was some 10 miles away in the Alkali Springs area. And later on, there was a significant 47-mile pipeline system from Lida to Goldfield in 1907. Well, this concludes my short and brief history on the mines within Goldfield. As I had said before, I'd already produced one about the buildings, so I'm glad you guys got to watch. Thanks.
I had another, what I refer to as a successful trip to Goldfield, Nevada. This is my second video that I made in Goldfield. The first one was concentrating on the buildings there. This particular video, as you well know, is on the mines. I plan to do one more at least of the railroads that have raced to get there to Goldfield to serve all the needs that they have there. I'm glad you guys got to join me and explore a little bit of the history of the mines there in Goldfield. If you ever get a chance to go out there, make sure you stop by and check it out. And thanks for watching.